Welcome everyone to my Flins build guide. Flins is one of the first characters to release with the brand new region of Nod-Krai. In this build guide, I will go over Flins' kit and explain what he does, then go over his build options, including artifacts, stats, and weapons. Do keep in mind that everything in this video is highly subject to change. Information is only up to date as of the making of this video. And without further ado, Flins is an upcoming 5-star electro unit. He wields a polearm, has a crit damage ascension bonus, and specializes in dealing damage through the Lunar-Charged reaction. Lunar-Charged is a new reaction that was introduced with the release of Inefa. If you have Inefa in your party, or a character from Nod-Krai like Flins, when a party member triggers the electro-charged reaction by applying either hydro or electro onto an enemy affected by either element, a thundercloud will be formed, dealing lunar-charged damage every 2 seconds instead of electro-charged reaction damage. Lunar-charged is a unique reaction, as it can crit, and the damage the reaction deals factors in the damage of all contributing characters to the reaction. So having another character that deals a lot of lunar-charged damage, like Inefa, is going to be beneficial. Lunar-Charged, much like a regular transformative reaction, scales with elemental mastery, character level, and ignores defense. It's also worth noting that elemental damage bonuses from a character like Furina do not affect lunar-charged damage. A special multiplier for this reaction can be found through the lunar-charged base damage bonus, which can be increased through effects like Inefa's Moonsign passive. Lunar-charged reaction bonuses can be granted through Flins' kit or the to-be-introduced Moonsign team effects. Moonsign is sort of like Natlan's Night Soul, where having characters from Natlan allows you to trigger special effects like a Night Soul burst. To trigger Moonsign effects, you must have a character from Nod-Krai, like Inefa, who will raise the party's Moonsign level by 1. Depending on your party's Moonsign level, you will be able to unlock certain effects. With only one Nod-Krai character, you will unlock the Nascent Gleam effect. With 2 or more, you will unlock the Ascendant Gleam effect. These effects will unlock certain features related to a character's kit. With Flins, having the Ascendant Gleam effect allows his burst to deal more damage. These effects do not stack, as having 2 or more Nod-Krai units will not allow you to trigger Nascent Gleam effects. Interestingly enough, not having Nod-Krai characters in your party will unexpectedly increase your damage. When non-Moonsign characters use their skills or bursts, lunar reaction damage will be increased. With all of that out of the way, Flins' kit is pretty simple. Using his elemental skill will allow him to enter the Manifest Flame form for 10 seconds, in which his normal and charged attacks will become infused with electro, allowing him to apply more electro onto enemies. During this state, Flins' elemental skill will be replaced by Northland Spearstorm. On top of dealing damage, using Northland Spearstorm will allow you to use a lower energy cost version of his burst. This elemental skill will have a cooldown of 6 seconds, during which you can use the lower cost version of Flins' burst. Flins' regular burst will deal AoE electro damage. This damage will be considered lunar-charged damage. With 2 or more Nod-Krai characters in your party, the Ascendant Gleam effect will allow Flins' burst to deal 2 additional instances of lunar-charged damage if a thundercloud is nearby. When a character directly deals lunar-charged damage, a different formula will be used to calculate damage. This formula is slightly different from the regular lunar-charged damage formula, as it factors in the attack of your damage dealer and the multiplier of the attack. The lower cost version of this burst will trigger the same effects, albeit dealing less damage. However, it'll cost 30 energy instead of the regular 80. In a normal rotation, the Manifest Flame form lasts for 10 seconds, allowing you to use the bonus elemental skill and therefore the lower cost burst twice, consuming a total of 60 energy and dealing more damage overall. As for his passives, The first passive will increase Lunar-Charged reaction damage by 20% if the Ascendant Gleam effect is activated, requiring 2 Nod-Krai characters. The second passive will increase Flins' elemental mastery by 8% of his attack, with up to 160 elemental mastery gained this way, requiring 2,000 attack. Being from Nod-Krai, Flins will increase Moonsign level by 1, and he has the same passive Inefa has, which increases Lunar-Charged base damage. To fully maximize this effect, you would need 2,000 attack on Flins. Flins is a damage dealer, with the majority of his damage coming from triggering Lunar-Charged reactions and direct Lunar-Charged damage. Lunar-Charged is a reaction that can crit and scales with elemental mastery. Attack is also going to be important for Flins' damage, as he deals direct Lunar-Charged damage through his burst, and his passives increase elemental mastery and Lunar-Charged base damage based on his attack. When it comes to his team building options, being a Lunar-Charged focused character, he will naturally want Electro and Hydro teammates, although there is a restriction of having at least one other Nod-Krai character to trigger the Ascendant Gleam effect, which allows his burst to deal more Lunar-Charged damage. Inefa can fulfill this requirement and is generally going to be one of Flins' best teammates, as she greatly contributes to team damage through her Lunar-Charged damage. If you don't have Inefa, you could use another Electro sub-DPS, and instead use the upcoming Ino, a Hydro unit who can also apply off-field Hydro. Either Inefa or Ino can use the upcoming Nod-Krai support set, which is great for Lunar-Charged damage as it increases elemental mastery and lunar reaction damage. Alongside Inefa, you could still use Ino or another off-field Hydro, and for the last slot, characters that provide elemental damage buffs like Furina, Chilonin, or Kazuha may not be the best here, but can still be used for effects like resistance reduction or off-field Hydro. Sucrose or even Ororon will probably be great options here. Sucrose can use the Viridescent Venerer set and also buff elemental mastery, while Ororon can work well with Lunar-Charged team comps and his C6 buffs attack. Going forward, this will be the general team I will be using for any calculations. As for Flins' talent priority, you will probably want to level his burst while also increasing his character level. Flins' skill can also be leveled to increase his electro-infused normal attack damage, but it does not contribute to Lunar-Charged damage like his burst or character level does. Moving on to artifacts, Flins' best set will be the upcoming Night of the Skies Unveiling artifact set. This set increases elemental mastery, and depending on whether you have 1 or 2 Nod-Krai characters in your party, crit rate will be increased by either 15% for the Nascent Gleam effect, or 30% for the Ascendant Gleam effect. Lunar reaction damage will also be increased by 10% for each Gleaming Moon effect. This artifact set will be Flins' best in slot if you have 2 Nod-Krai characters in your party. With only 1 character from Nod-Krai in your party, this set will still be the general best option. As for other sets, if you have Furina in your party, Marechaussee Hunter will be a viable option, marginally behind. Gilded Dreams with a second Electro character is a usable option, and 2-piece combinations with attack and elemental mastery can also be used. A set like Gladiator's Finale, which focuses on normal attack damage, will naturally be behind on a character that deals most of their damage through the Lunar-Charged reaction. Moving on to stats, having enough energy recharge is important for Flins, as it allows him to use his elemental burst to deal direct Lunar-Charged damage. Flins' burst will normally consume 80 energy. However, the lower cost version of this burst only consumes 30 energy and can be used twice in a rotation, requiring a total of 60 energy. To achieve this, Flins will not need a lot of energy recharge. Around 120 to 130 will be enough for most teams with a second Electro unit like Inefa. Having party members on Favonius weapons will allow you to drop lower to the 120 mark. As for main stats, for your Sands and Goblet, you will generally want attack. Using Elemental Mastery is also viable and not that far behind. However, you would want to prioritize reaching 2000 attack to maximize both of his passives, which will grant bonus Elemental Mastery and increase Lunar-Charged base damage. And lastly, for your Circlet, you would want crit rate or crit damage, as Lunar-Charged damage will still rely on crit. As for substats, you would want to prioritize Energy Recharge until you reach your target, crit rate and crit damage, attack, and Elemental Mastery. Moving on to weapons, do keep in mind that this ranking is not entirely finalized, and there may be some changes by the time Flins releases. Different weapon rankings may also use different teams and energy requirements, resulting in different rankings. Flins' best in slot will be his signature weapon, Blood-Soaked Ruins. This weapon has a base attack of 674 and increases crit rate by 22.1%. As for its effect, Lunar-Charged damage will be increased by 36% for 3.5 seconds after using an elemental burst. Triggering a Lunar-Charged reaction will increase crit damage by 28% for 6 seconds and restore 12 energy once every 14 seconds. Overall, this will be Flins' best in slot, not only for the damage buffs, but also for the energy restoration, which will greatly alleviate the need to build energy recharge. However, other 5-star polearms are also very viable, and he even has a great craftable option, so getting his signature weapon is not at all necessary. Staff of Scarlet Sands is a great option, as it increases attack based on your character's Elemental Mastery, 2 stats that Flins wants. However, you might overcap on crit rate if you're running the Night of the Sky's Unveiling artifact set. Fractured Halo, Primordial Jade-Winged Spear, Staff of Homa, Vortex Vanquisher, Lumidu's Elegy, and Engulfing Lightning are all decent stat sticks and can definitely be used. Both Battle Pass weapons are strong options and can even beat 5-star weapons at higher refinements, with Deathmatch being just slightly ahead of Ballad of the Fjords. Although keep in mind that the Ballad of the Fjords Elemental Mastery buff will not activate if you're running a team with all Electro and Hydro units. The recent event Polearm is a solid 4-star option, as it gives you just enough energy recharge and buffs attack for the entire 10-second duration of Flins' Manifest Flame form. Prospector's Shovel is the new 4-star craftable Nod-Krai polearm. This weapon increases Lunar-Charged damage and further increases damage if the Ascendant Gleam effect is active, which should be the case with Flins. Do keep in mind that since Lunar-Charged damage isn't affected by the usual damage bonuses, effects from weapons like Dragon's Bane may not really work well, and the damage from Flins' normal and charged attacks isn't nearly as much as his Lunar-Charged damage. Overall, Flins has decent weapon options, with most 5-star weapons being viable, and some of his strongest 4-star options being obtainable for free. And that's all from this build guide. Thank you for making it to the end, and thank you for watching.